Shalom Yashrallah, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that we will. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, and pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson real quick, which was inspired by, watching the video. And this is a channel that I watch every once in a while. They go into a lot of these little things about, the wickedness of the world, and the wickedness in the, how you call it, Hollywood and different things like that, and this person that upload these videos, for one, they're Jake, not knowing that they're Jake, but, they have the stance of being a so-called Christian, all right, a so-called believer and everything. And, their mission is exposing the devil, and they're on the lighter side. And this is why it's important to, follow the true men of the Lord. All right. And people like to take this so-called Christianity route and things that thinks they're pure, and then they don't quite like the way that, when it comes to the Israelites, oh, they're harsh, they're this, they're that, the things that they're saying, and we're starting to see what a lot of these different people that are coming out, especially with it, what they call it, like this, I don't know what you call it, these men movements and things like that. A lot of these different people from the Kevin Samuels, and there's this other guy that's out now that they're trying to cancel and things like that. And it's like, the fact of what they're saying, all right, is not really the problem. All right, it's just quote unquote how they're saying it. People have an issue of how these people are saying these things because in their mind, their beliefs are there. All right. But, it's just the so-called fact of how they're saying it. They can't palate it. And that's the same thing that, when it comes to this here truth, the men of the Lord has to so-called face these things as well, too. So a lot of people cancel us and, don't want to hear what we have to say because of the way that we say certain things. We may be on the highways and the byways and they may hear us cussing. How y'all holding the Bible and cussing and everything else like that. But, hey, when it comes down to it, like the scripture said, and it's obviously, they're not going to be sticking around long enough to hear certain scriptures come out, hey, though I be rude in speech, not in knowledge. All right. We could, your pastors over here telling you sweet, like the scripture also, prophesy about them, prophesying to us smooth things, tell us deceit, lies and things. So their pastors and their church leaders are telling them about all these, I'm doing, saying everything and all nice and everything else like that. And it's palatable for them to understand, but they don't get no truth. All right, I also watched another video today it was a news clip about this pastor who came out and was saying that, confessing that he was having an adulterous relationship with some young girl in the church, 20 years old, that was 20 years ago and things like that. Like, hey, but see, y'all, y'all like listening to people like that have the smooth talk and everything, but then they're charlatans behind the closed doors. But then when we tell you things with harsh words, you don't want to hear what we got to say. But hey, what can we're blameless at the end of the day. If all you can blame us with is the so-called speech, and not the message, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, with a lot of these different men movements and things like that that's going out, from the Kevin Samuels, a lot of people agree with the things that they have going on, but, it's just the way that they so-called say it that they have a problem with. All right. But hey, getting back onto this here topic with this here video that I was watching, about this guy that, again, was going into the Christianity, things like that. And the point of, when to hammer in on was listening to the true men of the Lord. All right. Because at the end all be all, like the scriptures say, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our time. All right. We're about to have a famine of the word. And you don't want to, and the sweet water is going to be mixed with the salt waters, and then friends are going to fight against one another like enemies. All right. Because, wow, a lot of these people are going to be misguided with a lot of these different things, especially when it comes down to, some of these very important things, like the MOTB. All right. Again, there's half truths and whole truths. All right. You have some of these people giving you a half truth about, let's just say you follow the instructions and the ingredients, all the way through to make some cookies, but you throw a little bit of feces in there. All right. You're going to eat those cookies. It's only a little bit, just a small little amount. You're going to eat those cookies. No, you want the 100%, ingredients for a good meal. So, and these things, like I said, these things can get you caught up, and I was watching this here video, like I said, about this guy that goes into like a lot of these different things. And which, again, this is a good elementary way of people waking up to some of this here truth, because, again, he goes into exposing Hollywood and all these different things that are demonic stuff that they have going on, to where if people, watching the channel, they're like, they speaking on, before they can even try to swallow the pill of Esau being a damn devil walking around and all kind of things like this, just watching his channel, you would realize there's something wrong, with all this music and everything else like that. But where, the drawing the line of these things was I was watching the video on them, and they was talking about quote unquote UFOs and aliens and things like that. And he had somebody else on the channel with them. They was talking about these things. And one of the concepts that came up was, the guy that so-called was the believer that was on the channel, and both these guys claim to believe in a higher power. One just said that they read the Bible, the other one didn't. And the guy who runs the channel, who said he believes in the Bible and everything else like that, say, his stance was, and I understand this because this is how, way back in the day, this is how I used to believe, And well, if there was a such thing of aliens, there can't be no God, and if there was a God, there can't be no aliens, because if there was a God, from what I know at those times, back in those times, he created us, and this is what it is. There's nothing else out there. It's just us. But then if there's aliens, then the aliens aren't subjected to this mindset of having a God and a religion and everything else like that. It could be an abundance of these things out there, right? But then this is again the surface level of thinking of these things, but now the same God said that these things that they think of as aliens could be demons, right? Now, and that's another perspective of what a lot of people tell you about. They talk about the UFOs being Project Blue Beam and things like that, which, hey, Esau can make things and like that go up into the air. But now as we see things, that was an old thought process of things coming to pass. But, nowadays, there's some real situations that's going on out there to the point to where they don't have to try to fake these things. And having your full understanding of the scriptures, these things will happen. It's not like, and again, this is the importance of understanding the truth, because I can think of another channel that's like that says, oh, in the end times, they're going to try to use this Project Blue Beam and show us UFOs and aliens to fake the Lord and everything else like that, when the scriptures clearly tell us, which we're going to get into, about these chariots that's going to be pulling up, all right? And the Lord is going to come back into these things. So, not to get thrown off on these things and these people in their mindsets, but what I found interesting in these two guys' dialogue going back and forth was, actually both of you guys are actually right, but you're both actually wrong a little bit, but you just don't have the full understanding of these things. So the guy that was, going into, if aliens existed, God can't exist and everything else like that. And, he was also saying, well, I just believe off what the Bible tells me. The Bible ain't speak nothing about those aliens and everything else out there. So if the aliens exist and God don't exist, I'm like, okay, I see where you're coming from. True enough. The Bible should have gave you all the information that you needed to know and everything else like that, and they ain't mentioned nothing about no aliens. So apparently there ain't no aliens. Now the other guy was like, well, I mean, I believe there's aliens out there that these the elites are trying to cover them up and everything else like that, because the world would just flip out if there was aliens. So they had to control the narrative and everything else like that. I'm like, all right, so I get what y'all are saying as well too. But like I said, you're both right, but you're both wrong at the same time. Like, yeah, the government is covering things up. They don't want you to know about these things because this goes against their so-called programming. And what's their programming? And this is where the guy got it wrong. It's like their programming is to make you not believe that there is a God. The Most High don't exist. And they're gods. This is what the scripture tell you about Esau, what he would be doing in these latter days. Now, the other guy was saying the fact of, that these things could be demons and everything else like that. And I'm like, well, why do you think now this is a lack of understanding of what, a lot of these Christians believe in? Angels and demons are pretty much the exact same thing. It's just their so-called motive. All right. And we can read about that in scriptures, how the Lord has the angels on his left-hand side and the angels on his right-hand side. All right. Now, you think about it this way. What's the difference between a cop and a crook? They're both human beings. It's just the title of their occupation. Crooks and criminals, they go and break the law, whereas the cops, they go and uphold the law. But they're both human beings. They both go and eat. They both, they're both subjected to the same things as human beings. But you just have to understand what they're there for. All right. The Lord has angels that'll go out and do his bidding on the right hand side. He has angels that go and do his bidding on the left hand side when he wants to go send judgment and things like that to terrorize your ass. All right, though, hey, they all are on point. They don't rebel, and this is again with the confusion of the devil rebelling and everything else like that. But we were talking about Esau at that point. But going as far as these angels, they don't go off, man. The angels or the demons, they do the bidding of the Most High. So now to clarify the other thing of it, what he was saying is, the Most High would have told him about these things, in the scriptures. I believe in the Bible, and whatever God said was in the Bible, he would have mentioned them in the Bible. Like, true enough, touche. I feel you. But what happens is, again, going back to the lack of understanding of these things, is these things are written in the scriptures. All right, but you just have this Christianity, like you're not really going all the way into the scriptures. And this is one of the things he tried saying about this guy was, well, how do you know you don't believe in the Bible if you only read a little bit of the Bible? And again, it's like, well, like the scriptures say, how will I know unless I have a teacher? So a lot of these things you just can't go and have your own interpretation on. You need a teacher, man. All right, you need somebody to actually teach you about these things, because when you have certain things that's like broke down into you in the, because a good teacher can break these things down to you in the simplest ways. And we're going to get into a couple of these words here, and people say, oh, well, that says this and this don't say that and everything else like that. It was like, well, wait a minute. Sometimes when we even speak in certain types of ways, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I just got a new, let's say I got a new Hellcat. All right. Oh, you said you got a new Hellcat when I said, go out and go grab that out of my car. Well, you said a Hellcat, not a car. Bruh, it's the same thing, right? You know what I'm saying? The Hellcat is the type of car that I got, or a new Charger or Challenger. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, Is it a Challenger, or is it a Hellcat, or is it a car, or is it a vehicle? Which one is it? My whip, my rod. Which one is it? But hey, we got the same word or different words for the same thing. All right, but it's described as the same way. So to dispel some of these things, we're going to go through some of these things in the scriptures. Like I said, if you was to read your Bible, these things have been here. You can check it out in your own Bible. And for this first, couple, well, we're going to read quite a bit of this in Ezekiel chapter 1. We're going to read this in the NLT. So it's a lot more clear for you people to be like, oh, that could mean this, that could mean that. But to give you the example, like I was just giving you about the Hellcat versus the car versus the new whip versus the Charger, you know what I'm saying? All these different names for the same thing. All right, I want to read this in Ezekiel 1 and 4 in the KJV first. And it says, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, and a great cloud. All right, so now these are some of the things that people get turned out with, where they say, oh, it says a whirlwind. Oh, it says a cloud. When we read in about Jake that was in the wilderness, all right, where there was it's going to go into the same thing as well here, but it said that it was a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. Oh, they said it was a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. It didn't say it was a UFO. Like, bro, it's not going to say, the word UFO. This is something that they, first of all, what is a UFO? What do these terms mean? All right. UFO means an unidentified flying object. Well, according to them back in the scriptures, those times they could identify these things. They knew what they were. All right. So it's not like it's identifiable unto them, man. All right. Just like sometimes, like even in the car world, they have, when new cars come out, a lot of times they have them on the testing track. They have like a cover over top of these cars. You can't really tell what kind of car it is. Only the windshield is like kind of clear and everything else like that. But the rest of the car is under wraps or something like that. You just know it's a car on the track. What kind of car it is that they testing? I don't know. It's unidentifiable, but it's a car. You know what I'm saying? This is unidentifiable. It could be a car, it could be an SUV. You don't know what the hell it is, man. But it's a vehicle at that, at some point in time, But it doesn't take away from, being something completely different. All right. And Jake, have to understand it is like, yo, man, we were created in the Most High's image. Okay, well, we would have a lot of things like the Most High. He's a king that sits on a throne. All right, we have kings that sit on thrones. They had garments. We got garments. You know what I'm saying? Just like how we're supposed to be the Lord's wife. All right, we have wives, and we have the comparison of how jealousy was that we went off playing the harlot and things like that. All these different things. So now, if we have chariots, we deck out our chariots. All right, we have big rims on them, bright lights on them, speaker boxes on them. You know what I'm saying? All the types of things on them, paint jobs, changing color paint jobs, and all kind of shit like that. You know what I'm saying? We have RVs that's like mobile homes or houses on wheels. You know what I'm saying? Like, Maybachs and all these types of things. How much more the Lord having chariots like that, decked out like that, man? Where do you think we get these concepts from, man? All right. So it says, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, and a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and as brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof was the color of amber, and in the midst of it was fire. Now, again, I just wanted to read that as far as, these different words, whether it be a whirlwind or a cloud. All right. Because some people, like I said, being simple, well, it didn't say a UFO, it said whirlwind, and then it said cloud. Like, bro, is it a scat pack or is it a car? Or is it a Charger, or is it a vehicle? I mean, like, you want to play semantics like that? Come on now, let's read in the context of what we're talking about. This is talking about a chariot or a vehicle. What is a chariot? We're gonna read in a different scripture talking about a chariot. But what is a chariot? A chariot is nothing more than a vehicle, man. All right, so we can get that out of the way. All right, but what we can read here now to get away from all these things, like I said, the simplicity of, it's using the word chariot or cloud. This is going to fully describe, there's going to be something that's going to be riding in some type of vehicle to transport it around. You can't get around that because it's going to go in so much full detail that you're going to know that this is something that's carrying an individual in basically like a vehicle, man. All right. And so, and this, again, has been in your scriptures from day one. But again, most people don't read these things, or it's a little too hard for them to comprehend. All right. But we're going to read this in NLT. So this is Ezekiel 1 and 4. And it says, and I looked and saw a great storm coming from the north, driving before it a huge cloud that flashed with lightning and shone with brightness, a brilliant light. And there was a fire inside the cloud, and in the middle of the fire glowing something like gleaming amber. All right. Now, if you really want a visual of that, you can go and look at the movie Independence Day, right? The very first time that they seen that UFO coming out of that cloud and everything else like that, it was unfolding upon itself, man. All right. Because this is, what it was. Now, you can also go on YouTube and just type in UFO sightings or orbs. And you'll always see, it's always pretty much the same exact depiction of, like, go on YouTube, find you a bunch of orb videos and things like that, UFO videos and everything, and read this chapter. And as it go on, what you're reading is what is or what's being described in this here text is what you'll be seeing on the screen, man. All right, to give you that much more of a visualization, because some people say, oh, that could mean this, that could mean that. Hey, but I challenge you to pull these videos up. All right, and these aren't my videos that I've uploaded, but hey, pull these videos up and read this here text and tell me if that's not what you're being described, man. All right, just like if somebody would say, oh, it's a 707 horsepower Dodge, two-door vehicle with a supercharger on that bad boy, and then you go to the Dodge dealership and like, all right, what y'all got this like this? Oh, he was probably talking about a Hellcat or a Scat Pack or something like that, because this is what he was describing. All right, so it says, and from the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, and except each had 4 faces and 4 wings. So, and we're gonna get further into it, but as you already can see, that there's something that's inside of this here thing that's moving. All right, their legs were straight and their feet had hooves and like those of a calf, shone like burnished bronze. All right, I'm not gonna go too far into all of this, but hey, these is basically the angels that was inside of these things, man. All right, so people have an understanding. Oh, you got aliens inside you. No, man, these are the angels that's rolling around in these things, man. All right, and if they are how you would say so-called men of color, man. All right, because hey, just like the Lord was a man of color, man, the angels would be of the same sort. All right, but this is what they're describing. They're describing something on the inside of these basically vehicles that's taking them around. Now, again, as we're going to read further into this, all right, these entities are being transported by this here vehicle. So you have to think about how we get transported around by another vehicle, man. Oh, why would the Lord need something to take him around and everything else like that? Hey, man, why would the Lord need, any of these damn things, man? All right, but the Lord has these things to take place, man. The Lord could just think things and things just happen the way that they are. But hey, man, the Lord has, he has, his different ways of, using in how do I say, not to say manipulating, but using his creation for his own pleasure, for his own will. It says, under each of the 4 wings, I could see human hands. So each of the 4 beings have 4 faces and 4 wings. Now, going into these things, they're basically, let me see where's further down in like verse 10, but they're going into different attributes and things like that. But just reading this for the context of them riding inside of a so-called vehicle, all right, and something being on the inside, and the fact that these things was actually told to you inside the scriptures, all right. It says the wings of each living being touch the wings of the being beside it. Each one moves straight forward in any direction without turning around. So now to describe how this thing moves around, you have to think about this. When you see like an airplane, when it's flying, you pretty much you just see it flying forward, right? And then forward to turn, it would have to bank to the side and have to go out into a curved direction and everything else like that and turn. Just like a car, you see a car driving forward, they don't just make 90-degree turns. Now, if you stop at a stop sign, you could turn, left or turn right, but you're not going to be going down the interstate and just turn left or turn right like that now. But now you could think about like you have a basketball, it's like a basketball or a marble. You could roll it forward, then you could turn it left and right and just turn like that. It doesn't have to go on that banking direction to curve like that, man. All right, so hey, these are how these chariots move. All right, now again, you can see some of these videos and things like that of these so-called orbs and things moving around like that. Hell, even in these Pentagon release videos and things like that, that's one of the major things that they pull out was, oh, this thing just dropped 80,000 feet without this and that, and they just took off without with a brilliant speed, and they just, with the maneuvering of these things and everything else, it was just crazy. They just took off and they defy everything like mankind. And this is another signature sign that this is out of the world, because the so-called laws of physics, you know what I'm saying? Like, even to give you an example, Russia has their newest fighter jet. I want to say it's called a Su-75, all right, which they nicknamed Checkmate. Now, when you really look into these planes, man, these planes are AI powered. They don't need human beings to be in these planes, all right? But a lot of the maneuvers that these planes can do, if there was a human being that was inside of these planes, it would pretty much kill them from the G-forces that would be in these planes, man. Now, these are how do I say, phenomenal movements that these airplanes can do without breaking and falling apart and with the stress that's on them. But these airplanes still don't move nowhere near how these jets would be moving. Like I said, imagine you flying, just imagine you driving a car 20 miles an hour and then want to make a complete left turn and things like that. Your car would probably roll the hell over, man. How much more at thousands and thousands of miles an hour, man? So, hey, this is, the power of these chariots. And every time you hear about these things, they always tell you, hey, there was no sound, no propulsion, none of these things, man. All right. It says, verse 10, each had a human face in the front, the face of a lion on the right side, and the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle on his back, at the back. And each had 2 pair of outstretched wings, one pair stretched out to touch the wings of the living beings on either side of it, and the other pair covered its body. All right. And again, showing you forth that there was a being that was on the inside. Right. It says, and they went whatever direction the spirit chose. They moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. So again, you have a being on the inside, or an angel on the inside, moving about inside of a chariot, or moving about inside of a vehicle, directing this here vehicle wherever it wanted to go. All right. So again, going back to, the initial inspiration for this here video about, oh, well, one guy was saying that, they're aliens and things like that. Like, well, I mean, and true enough, in a certain sense, it's alien unto you. It's a foreign being unto you, because, you don't understand what these what the angels are. You don't really believe the angels to that type of extent, and to the other guy who say, oh, they're just demons out there. Well, again, that's alien unto you, because you don't understand the power of the Lord, man. All right. The Lord has, his angels out here doing these things. Like, they always think of certain things as so-called weird looking unto them. All right. Being of a demonic state. But hey, man, hey, look at some of the things that Yahushua was doing. People will look at that as so-called witchcraft, walking on water, raising the dead and things like this, and doing all kind of things that they would consider as like witchcraft and magic. So hey, they even said that about Yahushua. They said that he did these miracles with the power of Beelzebub. So it's not of anything new that people would freak out and see some of these things that's foreign or alien unto them and call it something demonic. All right. And then again, what does the term alien mean? It just means foreign unto them. This is not normal into our mindset and our way of being as of, modern day ideology today. But when you go back into all the history and all the paintings and everything else like that, they've always had the chariots out there, man. And throughout all generations, they talked about these things, man. All right. Because they was always around. All right. It says, and the living beings looked like bright coals of fire or brilliant torches, and lightning seemed to flash back and forth among them. Again, look up those orb videos and you'll see these things like that, man. All right. And the living beings darted to and fro like flashes of lightning. Again, these were these living beings that was inside these chariots, man. And as they were moving around. All right. And I looked at these beings, and I saw 4 wheels touching the ground beside them, 1 wheel belonging to each. And the wheels sparkled as if they were made of beryl. And the 4 wheels looked alike, and they were made and were made the same. Each wheel had a second wheel turning crosswise within it, as they would say, a wheel inside a wheel, or like this was an orb shape or like a spherical shape. All right. So hey, again, and people have always heard about these things, Ezekiel's wheel or wheel inside a wheel. You know what I'm saying? But again, I implore you to go and look up, videos of UFOs or orbs and things like that, chariots in the sky and everything else like that, and read this and tell me that this is not exactly what you're seeing, man. All right. And again, we can read multiple places in the scriptures of how, and Lord's will, we'll touch on some of these things, but I want to read a little bit more of this real quick. It says, the beings could move in any of the 4 directions they faced without turning as they moved. And again, like I said, imagine you rolling a marble around or something like that. It goes forward, backwards. It doesn't have to go into a curve, like a airplane would have to make a turn, or like a car would have to, to make a turn and everything else like that. It could just be moving straight, and then all of a sudden just boom, go to the left, boom, go to the right, boom, go backwards. All right. It says, and the rim of the 4 wheels were tall and frightening, and they were covered with eyes all around. They had windows all around. And the living beings moved. When the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. And when they flew upward, all right, the wheels went up too. So just to break this down, it says when the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. Think of it this way. Hey, when you in your car, when your car move, you move. All right. When the airplane take off and you in the airplane, you take off and with the airplane too. You know what I'm saying? When you on a motorcycle and the motorcycle take off, you taking off with it. So it says when the living beings moved, all right, or to put it the other way around, when the vehicle moved, the living beings moved as well too. So they was inside of these things, right? It says, and when they flew upward, all right, going into showing you these things took flight. Now, going back into the ancient days, what the hell was flying around in the skies in the ancient days, man? All right, going back to these old ancient pictures and paintings and carvings that they had of things flying in the sky, man. All right, you'll see all types of things. They had airplanes in Egypt, and they had all these different things. And hey, man, they had an idea of these things because they saw these chariots, man. All right, these things have been all over, throughout all the time in history and everything else like that. And there's multiple accounts of them in the scriptures that people either seem to read over, or they'll think of it as something completely different than exactly what they're telling you that it is, man. All right, like I said, the cloud, what was it, a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night that the children of Israel followed for like 40 years out in the wilderness and things like that, man. That wasn't no damn cloud, man. That was a chariot, man. All right, even when they pulled up on Rahab the harlot, they saw that approaching them, and they whole township was frightened because they knew what had just happened to the Pharaoh and his army, man. All right. So this was something that they could see from afar out. Just imagine that, man. Imagine, well, this is actually going to happen. You're not going to really have to imagine it. But, hey, imagine, you know what I'm saying? The chariots pulling up today, man. All of a sudden, UFOs come up and then they, let's just say hypothetically, make some kind of contact with let's just say these Americans, right? Like, oh, let them Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans go, man. What do you think these people are going to be doing? They're going to be shitting bricks. They're going to be like, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? Their heart's going to be failing them when there's going to be no might in them. Look, read the story about, what was that, in the book of Joshua about Rahab the harlot and what the scenario and how do I say the countenance of these people were, man. So, like, this was not no regular cloud that you would see in the sky, man. This was something serious that was pulling up on them, man. All right. It says, matter of fact, I'm going to stop reading there, but, you can see basically, I implore you to read this whole chapter. But like I said, just the point was made that there was something, all right, some type of being that was inside of something that was moving around. Not just to say moving around, this thing was flying. All right. It was going back and forth, left and right, and it was transporting something that was in it. These are in your scriptures inside the Bible. Like I said, go read this whole chapter and it'll break things down. Now, I want to see if I can find that. Where is that at? In might be 2 and 12. Let me see. Let me try to find this. I think it's Joshua chapter 2. Hang on. Okay. So this is Joshua chapter 2. I'm gonna start at verse 9. Right? Let me see. Well, I'll just read it in the KJV. I was going to say maybe they say it a little bit better in the NLT. But let me read this in the KJV. Joshua 2 and 9. Now, again, you got to understand about the children of Israel just rolling up out of Egypt, right? It says, and she said, this is Rahab the harlot speaking to Joshua and them. It says, and she said unto the men, I know that Yahweh hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. All right? So let me keep reading. It says, for we have heard how Yahweh dried up the waters of the Red Sea for you when ye came out of Egypt, and what you did to the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. All right. So again, let me keep reading. It says, and as soon as we heard these things, our heart did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you, for Yahweh, your power, he is the power in heaven above and in earth beneath. So again, like I said, think about this as a real life scenario. Well, this actually happened, but in a modern day scenario, man. Imagine some UFOs coming over and just demolishing some shit. Then all of a sudden rolling up and like making contact like, yo, let the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans go. And then the people just like, yo, we heard what y'all powered and did to these folks over in America. We heard in fact, this was going to actually happen because after the elect is being beamed up into the chariots, all right, after, in the midst of World War III and those missiles coming down, the elect is going to be beamed up. All right, and the missile's going to drop down over here. But then, hey, the Lord's going to, when the minute of the Lord come back, all right, come back down. All right, they're going to be in those angelic bodies. All right, they're going to be, taking these weapons of war out of these other nations and humbling them. All right, putting them into subjection. They're going to know, man. All right, they're going to be frightened just like in this here time, man. But what would they be afraid of if it, like, just think about it from their perspective. So, all right, so the children of Israel just walked up out of the land of Egypt, all right? And then all of a sudden the water just split just because. Now, you got to think about it. These are people who don't believe in the Most High, right? They're going to think it's just like these people here today. They're not going to think of, oh, well, I don't know, maybe the water, what happened to the water, whatever. Y'all just walked out. Now y'all just over here. We got to see y'all do something, bro. We can't just see y'all walking up on our doorsteps and think we don't know what happened to the Pharaoh and his army, man. Nah, hell no. They had something to back them up. They was walking with that chariot, man. The chariot was God in them, man. All right, this is why they say the pillar of fire by day or the pillar of fire by night and the cloud by day, man. This thing pulled up with them like, all right, they wasn't fucking around. The stories we heard was for real. Now they done brought this to our doorsteps, bro. We up out of here, man. It's time for us to go. So again, going back into, hey, that's the importance of, the men of the Lord telling you the 100% truth. Because like I said, people like this guy, and telling you about certain things. Yeah, they exposing, the Illuminati, this wickedness and this and that. And then they talking about some can't be no God if there's aliens and aliens don't exist and everything else like that, and these quote unquote UFOs is something demonic or something like that. Nah, bro, you not reading in the scriptures, because these things were written inside the scriptures the whole time, man. All right, let me give you another example of how these things were. Now we all know about there's another story about Enoch. All right, Enoch walked with the Most High, but here's another story, a little less known story. Where is it at? In Second Kings, is it 2 and 11? Yeah, but let me well, let me just read from 9 to give you the context. All right. 2 Kings 2 and 9, it says, "And it came to pass when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, Ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And as he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee, but if not, it shall not be so." All right. So now this is the context of what they was talking about, right? "And it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, the appearance of a chariot." All right. Now, again, what is this word chariot going and referring to? All right. A vehicle of transportation. All right. Now, we just read about how these chariots, they didn't use the word chariot. They used the word whirlwind and cloud and everything else like that. But even at the bottom, it says, a chariot appeared and then he went up into the whirlwind. Like, it didn't say he went up into the chariot, but hey, I pulled up in my scat pack and I left off in my whip. What are we really talking about here, man? All right. I pulled up in my scat pack and I need you to go out to my car, go grab that up out my trunk. Are we talking about the same thing, or are we talking about the different things here? All right. It says, "And it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, the appearance of a chariot of fire and the horses of fire." All right. Again, you go and try to set a horse on fire and see what happened, man. All right. Not only is he going to take off real quick, start running. All right. If you set him all the way on fire, you're going to wind up dying, man. All right. But this was not what it's talking about. All right. Again, it's going into, like, we just read the description of these things of like amber. All right. Of like a flame enfolding on itself. All right. These same things. This is what it's talking about. These so-called UFOs, man. All right. It says, and again, what is a UFO? Unidentified flying object. Well, of course, they wouldn't call it a UFO in the scripture, because they're identifying it for you here in the scriptures and giving you a full description of it, man. So it would be identifiable until you next time you saw it. It says, "And it came to pass that they still went on and they talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven." So again, like we read in Ezekiel, how these things, they was flying up above. All right. Now here it says Elijah went up into this thing that was flying up over top of them. All right. Which was a chariot. All right. And, it basically took him up in there. Like they say, oh, he was abducted by a UFO or whatever. He went up into it. Now, think about all these different stories that you hear about these things, man. They're all pretty much synonymous with one another, man. All right. There's another scenario like this in 2 Kings, I want to say 6. Let me start here in let me start at verse 14. 2 Kings 6 and 14. It says, "Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about." Now, this is talking about an actual, like a king that was looking for Elisha and them, right? But they actually had actual horses and chariots. Their military came and surrounded about them. All right. So these horses and chariots is talking about actual horses and chariots, right? A military. It says, "And when the servant of the man of the Most High was risen early and had gone forth, behold, a host compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And the servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them." All right. Now, again, a lot of the times you have to read quote unquote between the lines and the context of things. So again, they're being surrounded by horses and chariots, a military force outside, basically. And it says, and Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. Now, obviously, the young man that was with Elisha, his eyes was already open because he saw that they were surrounded. Oh, damn, they got us surrounded out there. So when he said that Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee to open his eyes that he may see, what was Elisha talking about? The dude obviously was not blind. He could see that they were surrounded. He was saying, spiritually open his eyes, right? Show him what's really going on. Now well, let me keep reading. It says, and the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. So there was actual chariots that was surrounding Elisha and them. In fact, they go and attack them later on down. But just for time's sake, just to sum it all up, there was quote unquote UFOs that was out there that pretty much protected them, right? But he said, open his eyes that he may see. And these chariots had what cloaking abilities or invisibility, like cloaking abilities to show forth. Now, again, look at how mankind does their thing, man. All right, Esau has their fighter jets, like what they call stealth fighter jets, that they can't see on radar and everything else like that. They even have some jets where, from the the plane of sight, like those B-52 bombers. All right, if you're looking at a certain plane, they look pretty much flat. You can barely see them. All right, but hey, man, these things was written about throughout the whole scriptures, man. Like I said, but some people will want to overlook these things, or they have things that they can't answer. They'll sit there and play stupid. They're like, well, I don't know. It say a chariot, or it say a whirlwind, or it say a cloud. It don't say a UFO. All right, but like, hey, well, these are some of the things. Well, it was written like this, so you can, try to change it up. Like some people will say, oh, the Bible is fake because the places they talk about in the Bible aren't real. There's a couple places that still call these places like Rome and Egypt. They're still there today, Asia. But when you talk about Persia, well, where the hell is Persia? I don't know no Persia. Bible must be fake because Persia ain't real. Well, you can find the Persian Gulf, but there ain't no country that's today called Persia no more, man. All right. But if you look it up and you look far enough into the history, all right, Persia is now called Iran. Don't mean that, that the Bible is fake because they changed the names of it. But in vice versa, with certain things in the scriptures, the Lord gave you full details of how these things, just like, they don't call the people so-called white people, so-called black people, because they could change the names of these people, man. But the descriptions of these people and what these people would be doing, you can't change those things, just like these chariots, man. You can call them whatever you want to call them, but we're going to give you the full description of the details of how these things would be. So whenever you see them, you know what they were. All right. Now, let me grab a couple more scriptures real quick and we'll close out. I didn't want to make this that long, but hey, going into there, I just wanted to pull out the fact that, hey, man, a lot of these things was written in the scriptures, but people just overlook these things. Now, this is Yahushua was about to be resurrected up. Acts 1:9, it says, and when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly towards heaven, as he went up. All right. So again, what the hell are they talking about right here? Right. Or obviously it's talking about Yahushua, but went up into what? They didn't have a sense of airplanes and helicopters back in the day. Oh, he a helicopter put down a rope and he just went up into the helicopter. That would make sense in modern day times. But back then, what the hell was going to be able to receive a man up into the air? What did they have to receive a person up into the air, man? All right. It says, and when he had spoken these things while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sights. When have you ever heard of a cloud? You fly in airplanes nowadays, you can fly right in between the clouds. It's like a mist. All right. So it wasn't talking about a cloud, right? It says, and a cloud received him out of their sight. To give you a different example, you call him a Dodge Ram. All right. Now, when you're talking about, oh, I got a Ram. All right. You're not talking about there's an animal called a Ram. You're not talking about an actual Ram. You're talking about a pickup truck, right? It says, and while they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up, all right, again, going up in the air, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. So the angels were looking down as the men was looking up, and was like, look, why y'all tripping, man? The same Yahushua that y'all seen come up is the same way he's going to come back down. All right, and how did he go up? He went up by way of a chariot, man. And so let's find out how when the Lord returns, the way, the answer to that question, how is he going to return? All right, Revelation 1:7 says, behold, he cometh with clouds. All right, so hey, the same way he went up is the same way he's coming down. Now let us not stumble over this here word clouds again, but it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. And they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. All right, so hey, everybody's gonna see when the Lord returns back into with these chariots, man, and everybody's gonna be afraid, and they're gonna be wailing, just like how Rahab the harlot was in Egypt. All right, like how these things were back in the olden days. Now, with the release of these UFO documents from the Pentagon and everything else like that, some people are starting to take these things serious now, man. All right, but look how their military is reflected on these. We don't know. We ain't got no kind of abilities. We can't shoot them down. We can't chase them down. We can't really do nothing with them. So, hey, our firepower comparably to theirs is unmatched. All right. Now let's read a little bit more into this. Revelation 19, verse 11. All right. Now we can also read this in the Second Ezra chapter 13 in further detail. But Revelation 19 and 11, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. All right. Again, this is, that white horse, pure, all right, white being pure, and horse, that power, pure power, man, these chariots, man. All right. Again, for a further detail, go to Second Ezra chapter 13. All right. And again, this is like, we just read in Revelation 1 and 7. All right. There they use clouds. Here they talking about a white horse. It says, and he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. All right, like the scripture also say, there was a war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the devil and his angels. All right, so hey, what is going to happen is that, again, go to not Revelation, Second Ezra 13, about one realm fighting against another. All right, and Esau is going to, you see, they got a space command, space force. All right, trying to fight up against the Lord and AI technology and all these different things in their fighter jets. They don't need all this stuff to fight other mankind and everything else like that. They got enough systems now to lock on and shoot down jets and everything else like that, automated systems like that. But no, they need something like the scripture said, they was afraid but yet durst fight. All right, these things are all set up for what? The day of the Lord. It says his eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. All right, why was there? It says, and on his head were many crowns. Why was it that? Because he had came in to wage war and to conquer. What is that? Revelation 6. All right, it says he went forth conquering and to conquer. All right, it says, and he had a name written that no man knew but himself, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of the Most High. All right, this is the point. Verse 14, and the armies, all right, which were in heaven. All right, think about that. What are the armies that are in heaven, man? All right, and how are they coming? You've always heard about stories about a so-called alien invasion and things like that, man. All right, this is what they're preparing for. This is what you have going on. This is what you talking about, how the Lord is coming back with his with clouds, and all the nations are going to see him. All the militaries are going to see him. They're going to be frightened. Why? Because of a so-called alien invasion, man. It's not just, one or two chariots pulling up. You can go online and look at that too. A fleet of chariots, fleet of orbs, fleet of UFOs, man. All right, you've already seen them in smaller, in comparison with the Lord coming back with his small fleets, man. All right, and the armies. All right, what does the word armies mean? We already know what that is, right? All right, the Lord of hosts, the ranks of just multitudes and multitudes, right? The armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses. What are these white horses? More chariots. Clothed in fine linen, white and clean. All right, pure power. These chariots is coming to dominate. All right, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with the rod of iron, and he tread the winepress with of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty power. All right, and I'm gonna just go ahead and close out with that. But the point is, I wanted to make was, going back to their video of, them debating on whether, if there were, I believe in the Bible, and, God would have told me if there was some so-called UFOs and aliens in the Bible. He didn't tell me about that. Well, you're not reading your Bible to the truest or the fullest extent, man. This is why you need a teacher, and a teacher that has what? The 100% truth, to be able to break these things down. Because, hey, the same way that we read about these things here, all right, matter of fact, let me see if I can pull out one more. That was right here. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can find this other precept. This wasn't the one I wanted. Let me see if no, it says it here as well too, but there's a certain doesn't quite, this is not what I'm looking for, but this also says it as well. But it says Matthew 24 and verse 30, and then shall the sign of the Son of Man in the heaven. All right, what is that talking about? These chariots appearing. All right, now they starting to reveal them with the what you call it, the Department of Defense and things like that. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. These chariots coming, man. And they're gonna be mourning because they're gonna be like, oh man, we got all these problems on war, this is that. Now we got think about it now, man. America, not just America, the world is done with everything. You know, with the stress upon nations with perplexity. It's a pandemic. Now it's energy shortage. Now it's war and World War III. Now we got everything is destabilized, economic woes and economic collapses. And guess what? The icing on the cake is now we got UFOs and alien invasions. Hey man, men's hearts gonna be failing for the things that's coming to pass, man. And this is what they talking about. This is the icing on the cake, man. All right. Then shall the sign of the Son of Man in the heaven. So like, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of the trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right, now I was going to grab the other one where he says, come up hither. All right, but hey, it's the same thing, man. All right, this is what the Lord is talking about, man. Those chariots pulling up, man. All right, but like I said, man, you know, this is the importance of getting this here truth while you can, because you know, you have some people that might lose faith, man. They so-called hardcore believers in what they think of as the truth, and you know, believing on the Bible and everything, and then one day they see some UFOs pull up. Now all of a sudden their faith go out the door because they didn't get the 100% truth of what was really going on, man. All right, or some people thinking, oh, that's some demonic stuff, and that's some demons, and that's Project Blue Beam and everything. We're not going that way. Hey, and then you just out there lost in the sauce, man. All right, but hey, you know, again, you know, starting with the elder apostles on down from GMS, man. Hey, the 100% truth has been put out there before you, man. All right, and it doesn't matter whether you like how we say it in smooth words or rough words, but hey, the scriptures say, you know, they want to hear smooth things. Give us deceit, give us the smooth stuff, man. All right, but hey, man, we've been out here, you know, to tell you the 100% truth, man. Whether you want to hear or whether you will forbear. All right, so Lord's will, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth never will. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.